enforcement is doing a bang good job on trying to get to the bottom of this, because they're just turning over every stone possible to go through and identify cell phone towers. Pretty creative, and you have to be for a wilderness murder like this, because you don't have the advantage of going next door and getting Ring doorbell cameras or anything like that to identify a suspect or a vehicle belonging to that suspect. So they're being real creative and using whatever resources and whatever angle they can figure out.
Welcome to Reporter Room, where we seek truth and justice. My name is Jessica Della Davies. I'm an investigative journalist. Today we're going to talk about the connections of Brian Laundrie to the mysterious murders of Moonflower Grocery employee Kylen Schulte and wife Crystal Turner. Let's get into it. The investigation into the death of Kylen and Crystal continues after the remains of Brian Laundrie have been sent out for DNA testing. We know Brian left the van trip twice. The second time he left was August 31st, when Brian hightailed it back home to Northport, Florida, leaving Gabby's remains in Wyoming. He went straight to his parents' house after arriving September 1st without Gabby. The first time was August 17th. On August 17th, Brian also hightailed it home to Northport, Florida. This was just one day after Kylen and Crystal were reported missing by coworkers. And the story given for the reason that Brian went home to Northport, Florida, August 17th through August 24th has changed multiple times. The first story was Brian returned home to empty a storage locker. But this didn't make sense, because who leaves the trip of a lifetime to empty a storage locker? The second story was Brian returned home to empty a storage locker to save money so he and Gabby could extend their van life trip. But again, this makes no sense, as a storage locker in Northport, Florida area, it only runs around $100 a month. Airfare and putting Gabby into a hotel for 6 to 7 nights was way more costly. But the story changed another time. The third story was Brian had a fight with Gabby, returned home to Northport, Florida, and needed some things from his storage locker. What things? And why does the reason Brian returned home keep changing? Before we go any further in this case, it's moving fast, so please take a moment to subscribe and give this video a big thumbs up. Also, I have an important tip to share with you about safety, so please stay with me until the end. Clues connecting Brian to the unsolved murders of Kylen and Crystal continue to emerge, leading many to speculate that Brian is a serial killer. This is only my opinion, so please don't take all of this as a fact. This is my opinion and my opinion only. A cell phone was found by authorities at Kylen and Crystal's campsite. We know Brian had a cell phone on him on August the 12th during the Moab police stop, even though Brian lied to police officers claiming he did not have a cell phone, because the body cam footage shows Brian pulling his cell phone out of his pocket. Do you know who got a new cell phone from the AT&T store when he returned home to Northport, Florida? Brian. Moab is a small town in Utah with around 5,000 residents, so a very low crime rate and multiple homicides are rare. Let's talk about Cindy Sue Hunter and her awesome sleuthing. It's been over 2 months since Kylen's remains were found by Cindy Sue in their campsite. The campsite consisted of a Kia Sorento, along with their tent, camping items, and a makeshift rabbit shelter with their little pet rabbit inside. And close to the site in a nearby creek is where Kylen and Crystal were found. Cindy Sue spotted Kylen, and not wanting to disturb the crime scene, she immediately called 911 to summon the police, and the police found Crystal nearby. Cindy Sue is a hero, in my opinion. Kylen's father, Sean Paul, hired a private investigator named Jason Jensen to find out what happened to the women. To learn more about this, please check out my video, Is Brian a Serial Killer? Part 3. I will link it for you in the description below. So let's look at the timeline. We know Kylen and Crystal were last seen around 9:30 p.m. on Friday, August 13th at Woody's Tavern in Moab. They reportedly told their friends that there was a creepy guy hanging around their campsite. They did not name the creepy guy, so the private investigator, Jason Jensen, believes that the women did not know this person. When they did not show up for work on August 16th, coworkers reported them missing. The police did not find the pair, so Kylen's dad, Sean Paul, used social media sleuths to crowdsource a search for the two women. Cindy Sue offered to help and found their campsite off of LaSalle Road near Moab. The bodies of Crystal and Kylen were found in their obscure campsite near the LaSalle Loop Road, and both had multiple gunshot wounds in their sides, backs, and chests. When the police were on the scene, they called 911 to pinpoint the nearest cell phone tower, and authorities say it is a tower operated by Verizon in the Jimmy Keene Flats. To rule Brian in or out of this crime, we need to find out where Brian was. We need to know that when Brian was at the Bowen Motel, and we know police took him there on August the 12th, did he return to Gabby on August the 13th, or did he go off on his own? The private investigator, Jason Jensen, believes that Kylen and Crystal were killed in the very early hours of August 14th until the early hours of August 15th. So that's our window. And the one person who knew where Brian was during this time was Gabby Petito. And we know what happened to her. The police got a warrant specifically asking for any data collected from phones within a 2-mile radius of the tower between August 13th and August the 15th. The timeline for the warrant is from 9 p.m. August 13th to 9 a.m. August 14th, and this backs up private investigator Jason Jensen's timeline. The warrant was issued for September 20th, and it reveals that authorities have requested a, quote, tower dump from a cell tower at the Jimmy Keene's Flats, which is very close to the campsite of Crystal and Kylen. Additionally, the warrant states that this is limited to those phones that are within the 2-mile area of the crime scene. According to police, a single Samsung cell phone was found at the crime scene. The cell phone is being held as evidence, and it's unclear as to who the phone belongs to. We do know that the Moab police body cam stop shows that Brian had a cell phone and lied to police on August 12th about having one. We also know that when Brian came home to Northport, Florida, he got a cell phone. So I don't know. Both Jason Jensen and Sean Paul are asking that everyone who was in the area from August 12th to the 18th, if they could please review their dashcam video. Additionally, they're hoping to secure satellite imagery from a private company called Planet Labs. They hope that Planet Labs, that their footage will reveal information about any vehicles in the area. But the footage is expensive, so Sean Paul has turned to online fundraising to help pay for the potentially helpful photographs. Now let's consider Brian. We know he ran home on August 17th, right after Kylen and Crystal were reported missing on August 16th and found on August 18th. And we know the three main elements of a crime are motive, means, and opportunity. So do these elements fit Brian Laundrie? Motive. Yes, Brian had a motive. Kylen was the cashier at the Moonflower Grocery Co-op the day a 911 caller reported seeing Brian slapping Gabby, leading to the Moab police stop on August the 12th. We know Brian was forced to stay at the Bowen Motel on August 12th. We know this would have felt humiliating for someone with narcissistic tendencies. I'm not diagnosing him. This is just my opinion. And we know that Brian did not know who reported him to the 911 operator, and he may have believed it was Kylen. The Moonflower Grocery Co-op is tiny, so Kylen was the only cashier on that day. Let's look at means. Brian had a gun. We've seen an image of Gabby holding a gun, which was on Instagram. And to be clear, I do not believe that Gabby participated in any way. We know Brian had a temper. We know this from the incident at the Mary Piglet Mexican Grill, where he lost his temper with the hostess and returned multiple times to berate her. And we all know what happened to Gabby. So we know Brian had a temper. Opportunity. Yes, there was an opportunity. The Bowen Motel is 2 minutes from Woody's Tavern, where Kylen and Crystal were last seen. And no one can tell us where Brian was from August 13th through August 17th because Gabby is no longer with us. Many people have speculated in the comment section of part 1, part 2, and part 3 of this series that Brian may have done away with Gabby to cover his tracks. What do you think? We know Brian went running home to Northport on August 17th, and we know he did not return to Utah until August 24th. We know the reason for this trip to Northport has changed several times. On August 24th, Gabby FaceTimed her family from Salt Lake City, Utah, and told them they were leaving Utah and heading for Wyoming. Kylen's dad, Sean Paul, is asking anyone who may have driven by the road known as FR 4651, that's FR 4651, from August 12th to 14th to please check their dash cam video to see if any vehicles were headed in or out from the LaSalle Loop Road. He says that they are reaching out to campers who were in the LaSalle Loop Road area from August 11th to August 19th. In addition to searching for dash cam video, they're also hoping to get the satellite imagery, and this may help rule Brian in or out of this crime. I care about you and want you to be safe, and here's an important tip. If you're ever lost while hiking, or you get stranded in a remote area with your car broken down, and you notice your cell phone is low on juice, or it doesn't have a signal, this tip may very well save your life. Change your voicemail on your phone to a message that gives your approximate location, the time, the date, and your situation. You're lost, you're out of gas, your car broke down, you're hurt. And any special instructions, such as you're staying with the car, you're walking toward a town. The best part is that even if your cell phone dies or stops working, your voicemail will still work. So anyone calling your phone to find you will hear the message and will know where you are and can help send help your way. What do you think happened to Kylen and Crystal? Please help Reporter Room grow by subscribing and giving this video a thumbs up. Thank you for watching.